Agent series, where we talk about how to be easy to find, easy to buy from, and easy to work with. As you can see here, we're focused on how to be easy to find today. And again, like I said, we are joined by Agent Evan Gibson with Gibson Insurance Solutions. Now, last time we discussed selling telematics. We introduced our new telematics resources on the Firefly Agent portal. As you can see, those are here under Modern Agent. So we have pages for each carrier, along with some resources for how to overcome telematics reluctance, how to sell telematics. We have pitches, as well as objection handling scripts that you can use as well. In addition to that, today we brought Evan on because we want to talk about referral partners. So we've got a little question for you. We're going to pop the poll up here in a second, but we have a question, and it's how many leads per month do you get from referral partners? Now you can see there down in the fine print at the bottom. When we ask that question, what we're asking is referral partners. We're not talking about your mother, your brother, your friend, your sister. We're talking about business relationships. So someone in another business who refers people to you. So that would be a mortgage lender, an accountant, a tax advisor, somebody who refers business to you. So we're going to pop the poll up here. And you can start answering now. So appreciate it. Looks like those answers are rolling in. Remember, you can scroll down here. There's answers further down at the bottom there. All right, I'll let those answers keep rolling in. Now, remember, we have a chat. Please use it. If anyone wants to share where those referral partnerships are, what kind of referral partners you work with, feel free to post it in the chat. Also, make sure to use the chat for any questions that pop up or discussion items while we talk here. So I'm going to be wrapping that up. I'll give everyone another 30 seconds for those of you who want to answer. So it looks like we've got about 3/4 of people have answered the little poll there. So anyone else who wants to jump in, please do so now.
Noel says mortgage broker, got lenders in real estate, captive agents. That's a good one, captive agent. Cool.
Fantastic. All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and we'll probably close the poll. Anyone you want to pop in your last second answers, but we're going to jump right back in. So today I am joined by Evan Gibson with Gibson Insurance Solutions. I'm going to pop Evan and me on the screen here. Hello, everyone. I'm joined by Evan. Evan is again with Gibson Insurance Solutions out in Dawsonville, Georgia. I figured let's go ahead and Evan and just have you share a little bit about your agency's history. I think like this month is probably 2 years. I think you inked your contract on Halloween of 2019. So I think that was around the time when you started, probably Thanksgiving. So I don't think you even started writing business till around December 1st. So tell us a little bit about you, Evan.
Yeah, talk about a scary time. Perfect around Halloween too, a couple of years ago. Yeah, I was originally captive agent, found Firefly just by, I was at kind of a crossroads where I know I wanted to go agency, but I didn't know which model I wanted to use. And so through going through the process and meeting with guys over at the captive agency I was at, and then also just researching, meeting with different people, that's where I found Firefly. And thankfully, you guys were able to take me in, and that's where I call home now. So back a couple of years ago, signed the contract in October, and then I think I wrote my first piece of business like December 12th or something like that of 2019. So yeah, it's coming up or right at 2 years now we've been in business, and yeah, enjoyed it ever since. Definitely enjoy being an agent. One of the things that I enjoyed when I got into this business was just the ability to talk to all kinds of different people, because it's something that, as I'm sure you always have the conversation with other people, is something everybody needs, and it's something that you're going to get in touch with everybody for, because, number one, it's inevitable. So, while that's the case, one thing I found I enjoyed was just trying to make it a good experience for people while they're there. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Been an agent, like I said, for about 4 or 5 years now. Been with Firefly for 2, and definitely thankful to be here.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Evan. And Evan's a humble guy, so obviously didn't share much about his agency's growth. But I just want to share with you guys a year ago a little story. I was congratulating Evan on his agency's growth a year ago when after he'd started with us. And this is something I don't share often, but Evan said one of the most humble things I've ever heard. What he said to me was that all thanks goes to God and to my referral partners. Now, I don't think I've told Evan this story, but I've used that phrase, that statement he's made, as a reference of humility, because it's a prime example of it. And I'll share just besides the humility in that phrase. And I want to say who Evan thinks, draw attention to that. And no, I'm not talking about the big man upstairs. What I'm talking about is his referral partners, because the reality is I think, Evan, correct me if I'm wrong, they're a key to your business and your success.
Yeah, absolutely. I consider myself a 100% referral based business. And that's, honestly, one of the reasons why I chose Firefly, because, the model that, we all work on, being able to have options and having all kinds of people. If you work, I saw a couple people in the comments saying that they work with mortgage lenders and realtors, which is primarily what I work with. We'll get into that, I'm sure, later on in the webinar. But because of that relationship, that's definitely something that the broker model, being, a Firefly agent, helped me with. And because I wanted to focus on that business, that's a lot of what brought me here. And, honestly, Firefly has been able to help me hone my skills even more and be able to serve more people, which has allowed me to grow deeper in my relationships with, the people around me, such as mortgage lenders and realtors, exactly what you're hitting on.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. Because I think that has been probably, as you shared with me, key to your business and your business success. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of just share on the screen here. So give me a moment while I go ahead and switch. This is just a little bit about Evan and his numbers. On average, Evan gets about 25 to 30 leads from mortgage lenders and realtors each month. He closes roughly 75 to 80% of the leads that he receives. So you guys can obviously go ahead and do the math on that. But our industry is all about numbers. If you're not quoting business, you're not getting in front of people, you're not going to be writing it. Successful agents, they play those numbers, and that's what Evan's doing. He's playing the numbers. He's a numbers guy. He tracks all of his details, and this is how he knows where his success is coming from. I'll just share that of Evan's 459 clients last I checked, I believe 408 of them own a home. So that's 89% roughly. So about 90% of Evan's clients currently are homeowners. So that's just a testament to how successful his referral partnership is. And that's why I share these things. So now I want to talk about, just let Evan, the reality is, guys, this is about Evan. This isn't about me. I've worked with mortgage lenders in the past and financial advisors, but the reality is he has a bulletproof process by which he creates these relationships. So what I want to get into next here is talking about Evan's process. Evan's going to walk you guys through it, but I want to outline just for everyone visually what we're going to talk about today, which is one, identify referral partners you want to work with. So Evan has identified that as he shared his niches, realtors and mortgage lenders. He's going to talk about why here. So what is Evan's why and what is your why? So what value do you bring to that referral partnership you want to create? Now, create a referral program that incentivizes referral partners. Evan's going to talk about what I like to call his buyer rewards program. There's not really a name to it necessarily, but if you wanted to put one to it, that's as good as any. Now, the next step Evan is going to talk about is going to be reaching out to those potential referral partners and pitch yourself and your value adds. He's going to talk about how he does that. We're going to talk about how he manages that relationship closely to help him to continue to get leads from them. And then lastly, how he keeps his referral partners updated about the clients they've referred to him. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. Let's, I guess, start, Evan, by talking about the referral partners you want to work with. So first, I guess you identify them. So let's kind of chat about that, Evan. Where, I guess the big question would be, right? You work with mortgage lenders and realtors. So tell us a little bit about why that was the partnership you created and what your value add is.
Yeah. So, and as you hit on before, everybody's got a different, target that they want to make. As you're watching this, you're probably thinking in your head, what speaks to me? Do I want to go that route? Do I want to try maybe a different route? I saw some car dealership stuff in here too. So back to that, identifying what I wanted to do, I found that realtors and lenders was a great opportunity for me to, I guess, bring the most value when it comes to what I can do as an insurance agent. And that's because you can understand the relationship from a bunch of different sides of things. So, why did I target, the category of realtors and lenders? Well, one of the things that, constantly coming up in school and other sales trainings and things like that is there's a thing called friction in sales. And friction is I'm going to have to stop what I'm doing, pick up something else and move forward doing something else, that is kind of something you don't normally do. So in sales, you calling somebody up for insurance, a lot of times the last thing they want to deal with is sitting there talking about their car insurance when they got a million other things going on. So what I found was by targeting realtors and lenders, I've already put myself ahead in a category because it's something they have to get done. They're excited about a house. They want to make sure they're knocking everything out. So they make sure they get that house. And it allows me to kind of make a better entry into that environment, and that's kind of why I first started targeting that. And another thing too, is just, I enjoy, the field. You get to be around real estate, you get to be around finance, all kind of different stuff. And those are things that I enjoy doing. And it's also a way to provide value to them. So for me, I just found it was a great way to, kind of start off on a better foot, is by starting with targeting those partnerships. And also, from the family side is kind of the other side I talk about it. The business side is, it's easier to, start out with a lead. As you all know, if somebody's referred over to you and they're in a process where you're a part of it, you're going to have a lot better chance of closing that deal. The other side of it too is families. So a lot of time when people are buying a new house, they're usually selling another one, or maybe it's their first time buying a house. People are having babies, people are getting divorced, people are getting married. There's a lot of things happening. It's a perfect time to build a relationship when someone's having transitions going on too. And so that's another thing that, like, I guess propelled me to continue targeting that, because I really enjoyed like getting people in that state where they've got a lot going on, and you can just be there to help them put the pieces together from a financial standpoint, like insurance, protecting all of the things that they're worried about at that time. That's kind of twofold the reason why I target that. It's enjoyable to me to work with people in that state. And also, it's a great source of business, because of where you're meeting them in the process. So
yeah, it's that life stage, right? Because you're meeting them, they're maybe just getting married, so maybe they've always had their policies separate, and they're just putting them together. So it's a perfect opportunity for you to be that hero.
Right.
Insurance on items that come right around the wedding, right? Rings, you know what I mean? Like they're taking their households together. So what scheduled items do they need? So it's that like you're saying, that perfect opportunity for you to be the hero to this new couple, possibly.
Absolutely. And with our model, as I'll say on and on and on, it's very easy to be able to put someone a policy together that they may not have shopped in a while, and save them a lot of money too. Especially when you have households merging, all the time, everything that works with that process, especially when you can help them do it, number one, but number two, get them in something that saves them money, that they feel good about, and you can enhance their coverages. Yeah, I enjoy that part of stuff, and almost like giving my clients a clean slate when it comes to their insurance, like them knowing, hey, whatever you had before, whether it's good or not, what you have is good now, and moving forward, that's where we start that relationship. Is kind of how I pivot off of the lender and realtor referrals.
Awesome. And obviously they need it. So, you know what I mean? So we talked about your close ratio, 75 to 80%. These clients need insurance. They're buying a house. It's a requirement of the loan. They have a deadline for it, as Tyler says in the comments here. So that also is probably helping your close ratio be higher than probably most other lead sources that you've tried.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, because you eliminate the percentage of ones that you are saving a bunch of money. They're like, yes, let's go with it, and then they ghost you. Those things. That's one of the most frustrating things as an agent. That happens to everybody. This is one of those things that can help eliminate those sorts of things and help you be more efficient as an agent as well. So yeah, I definitely agree.
And we'll talk about later on how your process cements that, right? Because you're working directly with the mortgage lender and the client. It makes it so that they can't ghost you, right? So your process makes it really easy for that to not happen to you as an agent. So obviously agents, if you're looking for identify referral partners you want to work with, and you've decided, who you want to work with, well, how do you identify them, right? Next is the next step, Evan. So what were some of the steps that you took to identify referral partners? And obviously we could talk about some other ones too.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways. For me, I'm a relationship guy. So honestly, sometimes it's just calling up, everyone knows a realtor that they've worked with, I'm sure, or at least a friend or family. Start somewhere. And, one of my ways to do it is just by personal networking. Is probably my biggest way. It's calling up, one of my biggest referral partners I have today, and honestly, one of my best friends now. If you follow me on Facebook, we're hunting together all the time. His name's Jonah, great guy. I ended up finding Jonah just by calling the guy that sold me my house. And I said, hey, man, we do business together, this and that. You're great and all, buddy. But what would help me even more is if you told me who you used as a lender. And I'd love to meet with them because I'm an insurance agent and this is what I do, explain your value. And by doing that, that's kind of how I got started with doing this, is basically saying, who do you use? And I'd love to get in front of them getting in front of that person by basically word of mouth. So when you call that person up, you're already a little bit, I guess, giving them a compliment by saying, hey, I was referred to you by so-and-so. He said he uses you a ton. My name's Evan. I help mortgage lenders. I'd love to sit down with you. So that's how a lot of my relationships get started, is mainly just by, having a relationship with someone. Things, if I like working with that person or things go well, then I'll take that next step and ask, like, hey, I'd love to work with the people you work with closer and get more involved there. And that's how it starts. Another thing too is Google. I've Googled up mortgage lenders and called people before. And yeah, there's times where, obviously you kind of don't get the best response when it comes to that. But there are those times. You were talking about a numbers game earlier. I mean, how easily can you go and find mortgage lenders? You're pulling up Google right now. I was going to mention that. Zillow. You go to Zillow, that's literally mortgage lender directory right there. So I'm sure you're going to go there if you haven't already. So that's another way that we find people to contact, is through Facebook, different marketing groups, and all sorts of stuff like that. So, whenever
home loans, lender reviews here, guys, you got mortgage lenders near me, just literally pull up mortgage lenders. You go to more places. Again, this is proof on why you need to be listed on Google. All right. Again, if you haven't watched that Google webinar, go back. We have that. We'll post that to everyone. We'll resend that. But if you haven't watched the Google webinar, got to be listed on Google. And this is why searches like this. And then again, like you said, ask lenders who their favorite realtors are, and ask your realtors who their favorite lenders are. Right. I always say, a realtor is a great referral partner, but they're a better introductory person to a lender who's an even better referral partner. So, when you're looking, just make sure you use Google search. Another one, Evan, I think me and you talked about this briefly. Most any agent who has LinkedIn, or anyone who wants to create a LinkedIn account, right? You get free LinkedIn Pro for like a month. And LinkedIn Pro is an awesome resource for identifying mortgage lenders. So I would highly recommend. I worked with an agency previously that's literally what we did, is we used LinkedIn Pro, Sales Navigator, and just found mortgage lenders and reached out to them all the time. So that's another one. And again, you get 30 days free for LinkedIn Pro. So Facebook groups, I think me and you talked about that. And then you had mentioned, I think LinkedIn groups as well is another avenue, Evan, that we talked about for finding maybe a mortgage lender group right on Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. You can look up new mortgage lenders in the industry. You can look up mortgage lenders with, there's all kind of Facebook pages out there as well. And, it's a lot of also, there's kind of two parts to doing this too, because, it's easy to go Google people and send random emails and stuff like that, and like kind of, hide behind the keyboard a little bit too. But one thing I had to push myself to was like, all right, I'm going to go prospect. I'm going to find these people, but now I got to actually call them, and I got to actually get a little uncomfortable and try to nurture those things and things as well. So, some of you may be more inclined to want to go and do more online routes, social media, networking that way. But also some of you may be going, the more you may like interpersonal stuff more. Either way you do it, you can make it successful for you. There's so many different things you can do also, such as, walking into real estate offices saying, hey, anytime you guys have like a training, I'd love to bring breakfast or something like that. Stand in front of agents for 10 minutes to talk about flood insurance and you're out, like stuff like that as well definitely helps. And one of the ways you can find that is going and finding real estate offices, mortgage offices. It's all accessible right here on Facebook, on the internet, all that kind of stuff. Call them up, say, hey, can I help sponsor an event? It's as little as that. It's just finding who it is and finding what works for you. Everybody has kind of their natural way that, that they do things, or natural way where they just kind of, when you talk to someone and they feel like themselves, but you also talk to someone, you're like, okay, this guy's trying to sell me something. You don't want to be that guy. Do it in a way that sounds like yourself. And once you find that, all it is just a numbers game from finding these people and just being consistent about following up and really just explaining your value in what you do. So were you pulling something up here for?
Yeah, for some reason it's not pulling up right now. But if you look at most Facebook groups, particularly, obviously, most of the time, I'm not joining this one, but if you join the group, most of the time it shows. But if you'll see here, if you're joining the group and you're in it, there are 520 pages in here. Most likely some are mortgage lenders. So if you're looking for mortgage lenders, again, this is time. You're putting in time, but this is something you can do, at night, just laying in bed on Facebook, find some mortgage lender, take down some phone numbers, take some screenshots on your phone and say, I'm going to call these 3 guys or gals tomorrow and pitch myself and my value add. And Evan, I think that's a really great segue because we talked about how do we find referral partners that you want to work with. I think it's a good segue into like the why part, right? What
Yeah.
is your why? What's your value add? What do you bring to the table that helps you to make those partnerships, right? And that's what the next step is the agent needs to figure out, well, what's going to be your pitch once you identify who you want to work with. So Evan, tell us a little bit about your value add.
Yeah, so value is probably one of my favorite words. And one of the reasons for that is I try to keep it top of mind whenever I'm walking in any type of business scenario. And the reason is you have to be of value somewhere in every relationship. And one of those first part of that is the realtor, the lender, the business relationship, whatever, whoever's sending you and referring you business. Okay, when you think, all right, if value is at the top of your mind and you need to do value first, what is valuable to them? So going back to that PDF that he had pulled up, basically what that is literally on paper my value pitch to a mortgage lender. So, when we're talking about value, value to me means how am I helping what you do? Like if it's a relationship where you're just sending me business to get it off the table, that's not a relationship that's going to be sustainable or last a long time. So in order for me to keep that relationship is value. And one of those things that I do is basically communicate that as much as possible. And the reason for that is so that they feel like I'm valuable. When I send Evan business, it's doing good for me, is basically the point of that. So like this PDF here is just an example of something I use, and I tailor it specifically to whatever it is. But for this, it's a mortgage company. And okay, what's valuable to a mortgage lender? Well, first of all, their timeliness. One of the things that they love is their time, and they never have enough of it because there's always a deal that gets pushed up. There's always a deal that gets pushed back. All kind of things happen in their world, and their life is deal after deal after deal. They're not worried about retention and renewals and kind of stuff like that like we are. They're turn and burn. They got to get to the next thing and make sure it's done. So value to them is time. We won't allow insurance to delay your closing. That right there speaks value, meaning, okay, I know that when I call Evan, he's going to get it done in a quick manner, and I'm not going to have to worry about this or my deal falling through. That moves into the confidence interval of that. So, okay, well, he's going to be quick, but he's also going to make sure that he's getting my customers something that's going to work for them, and he's not, going and lowballing a policy just so it works for me. We've got in here, we have the best pricing and coverages so that clients aren't left with holes and gaps in their policy. So you're basically bringing value to that lender to make them feel safe and secure by essentially using you. On the flip side of it, you have to kind of switch to a different face when you're talking to a different part of the deal. In this case, the client. So the client, you all of a sudden talk to them, their value is they may be flustered. So if I notice somebody's flustered and, oh, Evan, there's so much stuff that I have going on and I can't, put it all together, that immediately tells in my head, okay, there's a problem I need to solve, and I need to make this person feel like, hey, I've got it. I've done this a million times, and you need to know that you're going to be just fine. And so that's how you can start bringing value to the client. And so every step along in the process, you just find a way to bring value. And so the point of the conversation is realtors, lenders, referral partners, whatever it may be. So in this context, you've just got to find what your value is. So if you're going to go that route, mortgage lenders and realtors, take a look at some of the things that we've got in here, because, really what you're wanting to do is take away some of the issues and obstacles that they have by being a part of that relationship. Another side of things, I saw someone earlier talking about auto dealerships. That's a great opportunity for auto insurance and obviously bundling and stuff later on. When that person's at the dealership, they want to get that car and they want to make sure they got a low rate, and they want to make sure that they're good and they drive away and they can get out of the dealership. So if your value add is, hey, you call me up even on a Saturday, if you're an agent that works Saturdays, your value could be, hey, you got people that need insurance and they can't get it, whatever, call me, we'll get it done. So that's your value to that side of the relationship, whatever it is you may be, or whatever it is you're going towards, I guess, is where you're going to start your value proposition in your head and kind of figure out, all right, what can I bring to the table and how can I get that across to the client early and often in the relationship?
That's awesome. And it's key. And this document, by the way, I think people said it in the chat, is this is huge because it shows a lot more professionalism, details, step by step, exactly why. And it's something that, frankly, a lender could send this over to their client, and this would be, you know what I mean? This is why I work with Evan. It's clean and it's crisp. So I think this is important, and I think having a reason and why is important. And to be clear, agents, like Evan has his reason, his why, and you guys don't need to have the exact same reason or why, or the same value add, or the same exact pitch. There's a million of them that you could try to go with for how working with lenders, realtors, financial advisors. We have an article on the portal and that's published now, which gives you ideas on some different referral partnerships and some different pitches that you guys could possibly use or riff off of and create your own. So again, Evan has his value add that he brings, and working with different lenders, partners, or different, say, car dealerships, it's going to be a different value add, than the value add that a loan officer will get from that relationship. So, thanks for sharing this, Evan. I think this is great. I think agents really do need to take a little bit of time, figure out what their value add is, and put that to paper. And again, this will be on the portal. So feel free to, obviously, you're probably not going to want to have Gibson Insurance Solutions logo on your document, but feel free to go ahead and take some of the ideas that Evan has laid out here and create your own value add.
Right. Absolutely. So we got a question in from Luis. Do we want to answer that? I've got it says, I struggle balancing your number 2 and number 3 value adds. In my experience, insurance premiums are rarely a priority in calculating lender ratios, often leaving minimal money for insurance. How do you ensure you're fully protecting your homeowners from a lender $75 a month budgeted for insurance? Definitely glad you asked that question. And that's something that I honestly speak on every single day with my lenders. And it's something that you, Luis, have to, first of all, make the decision, I guess, in your process of how you're going to protect people. So for me, I guess the best way I can answer this question is kind of tell you how I deal with that. So debt to income ratio, like you said, insurance is the last thing they care about. You're like, oh, insurance is insurance. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't matter to you because the second they close, it's done, but I got to deal with them forever. So one thing that you got to do is make sure that when you're talking to these realtors and lenders, that when you're speaking that debt to income issue, which is always a great thing to do, because when you say the word debt to income and they hear that from an insurance agent, they already know, okay, this guy is familiar with this process. That's another, addition to your value add. But when it comes to like debt to income ratios, things like that, I know all of you have been through the initial, what was it called? When you get on, you validate everything through what was it called? We had to go in and submit
a pre-bind
orientation.
Yeah,
pre-bind. Yeah. Pre-bind. So you already know as a Firefly agent what your responsibility is to the client. So that's the easy part. What you have to do is draw a line. And for me, I draw a line on liability. Like I never go under a certain bit of liability. I never, like if I can protect that home at replacement cost, it's going to get protected at replacement cost. About 100% of my book is on that, minus some random odds and ends things. So you have to draw those lines. And if the rate comes to the point where, all right, hey, we've only got $75 a room, for the insurance, that's when you have to say, look, like, can I get you a policy for $75 to make it fit your loan? Yes, I can do that. But is it right for the client for me to do that? And if that's the case, if you ran everybody, the rating may be high. You have some households where, you just can't get $75 a month. You've got to make sure you stick to your guns and say, look, like if I can't do it at that and they're not going to have a reasonable policy, like I'm just not going to do it. And so what you'll find is you're going to weed out referral partners that you don't want to work with, number one, because if you've always got the referral partner who's doing that, like, hey, man, I need cheap as I can get. I kind of want that relationship to fizzle out because that tells me that that person doesn't really care about the other side of my value, which is caring about families, making sure that they have this because I want them to be with me forever. So I'm going to treat them like that on the front end because I don't want to, be slinging low debt to income ratio policies. So to answer your question in a roundabout way, I would say just figure out what your line is. If it's always replacement cost, always, it should be that. Always replacement cost, having high liability limits, water backup, those sorts of things. I don't cut those corners and I run it and I get it. If debt to income's an issue, a carrier that's a fit, I'm going to go with the lowest one. And if it doesn't get there, it doesn't get there. The client's always got the option to increase the deductible, but I'm never going to be the one to suggest that as well. Because that's another thing that other people might have that question is, well, what if they say, can you do a $10,000 deductible, whatever? I can do whatever deductible they want, but they're going to sign something in paper saying they want that. And they know it's their responsibility to do that after closing. So, when it comes to that issue, you just got to draw that line almost. Another question from Fritz.
And what I was going to share actually, and just to add to yours, because I know Fritz was commenting, so I was kind of watching that there. There was a few points brought up, and Evan, you share a good point. One, let's start with what you were talking about, debt to income ratio. That is key when you're talking to mortgage lenders, is to bring up DTI issues and use those terms, DTI, debt to income, because they appreciate the fact that you understand the trials and tribulations of their day-to-day work, right? So they appreciate that you understand what they're going to have to go through and you have a way to address that. Evan's approach is great. And Evan has the ability, like Fritz is saying, Justin kind of echoed that. So Justin had shared that, one of the ways to get around that would be to change coverage up front before the policy is issued, and then to change it as soon as the policy is issued. So the client then is paying that premium difference, not the mortgage lender. So that's a way around it. What Justin said, though, is that typically for the clients who aren't willing to make that immediate endorsement change right after it's issued, he's not willing to move forward with that. And he shares a good point. Evan, you shared, if the client's not willing to have that better coverage, you're also willing to walk away. And what Fritz shared is, wouldn't it be great to be in that position, right? That you and Justin are in a position where it doesn't matter. You guys are willing to walk away from those mortgage lenders or from those leads where it's like, I don't feel like I'm doing the best for my client. This could put me in a position where I'm presented with E&O exposure. So it's great.
Right.
And I'll share one thing to add to that. And I think there are opportunities there. And what Mary Flanagan, I think, had shared was consider higher deductibles. That's a great option. And we may have some agents here who are coastal. So I used to write coastal risks, for example, coastal Florida, coastal Georgia risks. So I would have, say, a $4 million condo risk that I'm writing on the Florida coast. And the minimum deductible that they're even going to allow me is a $5,000 deductible. But the premium with that $5,000 deductible is astronomical. This client that's purchasing these homes are millionaires. I'm like, let's do this. If you sign for them, we're going to go with a $50,000 deductible on this upfront. If you guys want to change that later today, we can go ahead and issue an endorsement and change that back to the $5,000 deductible. You guys are going to pay that difference in price. But it gives that opportunity. Now, I'm never going to recommend to someone who isn't a multimillionaire that they go with a $50,000 deductible, but this person's buying a $4 million condo in Florida, so on the beach. So there's opportunities there where, say, the client, we can go with the $5,000 deductible to meet the DTI income. I'm going to send you an email. You're going to consent to that, but we're going to go ahead and change that after issuance to $1,500 if you want to. But you're going to need to tell me that's what you want me to go ahead and do. And set that expectation. So there are ways around that, but as Evan shared, I guess educating the client and the referral partner, right, is a great way. That's your approach, is educating both your referral partner on why they need to have the adequate coverage and educating the client as well.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And great points, Justin. And yeah, I definitely agree with all of that, man. And just kind of piggybacking off what he was saying, and I spoke with Justin. Justin was actually one of the guys that helped me. So shout out Justin. He was one of the dudes like, man, if you don't get on Firefly, you need to do it. Because I was, reached out to him. I looked him up in the video, saw the promo, and I was like, Justin Stettinish, I'm going to Google this guy, see if this thing's legit. So good to see you, man. So anyway, going off of what he's saying, he said famous. Just by you doing that, you're having that conversation with the client. Hey, listen, this is what you need. But if you want to be like that, let's set a follow-up for tomorrow, and you're going to have to pay for it. Just by you doing that, Justin, like that's you continuing to add glue in that customer's mind that this agent actually cares and they want to follow up and make sure I have the right thing. And that greatens the chance that they're going to go back to who referred them and say, look, this Evan guy, like he really cares, or this Justin guy, he really cares, whoever it is, like they're following up with me, make sure I have what I need and I get through closing. First of all, that's the first priority. But the second priority, which is just as important, is that they have what they need and that you're doing what you're supposed to do as an agent to educate them on their options and make sure that, they know what's good and what's not, essentially. So great points to that, Justin. Value, 100%.
Yeah, and Justin is another agent who really crushes it when it comes to partnering up with mortgage lenders and realtors. Actually, just a quick little aside, we'll be having Justin on later. I believe that's in January to talk about his retention process, because Justin's approaching some really huge milestone numbers with Firefly that I believe Justin's goal is to hit by January. And all of that is a testament to his mortgage lender relationships that he's created, as well as the retention process he's created. So just a quick foreshadowing of events to come. Justin's is, as Fritz said, January 20th. That's coming up soon, guys. So very excited for that one as well. So back to this, Evan. So you create your why, right? So we've got your why, we've got your how we find those mortgage lenders. Let's talk about the referral program that you've created, because this, I think, is you've got your value add, which in and of itself is enough. But I think what you've done as well is you created a referral program, and I think we just got a little image here of the Because Coffee. Tell us a little bit about your referral program you've created and how that's helped you.
Yeah, so this is another thing that I love talking about, because just like we've harped on, earlier on, basically you have there's so many different opportunities that you can do this. So you can create your own, just like you can find your own ways to reach out to people, find your own channels and all that kind of stuff. Referral programs, things like that are something that I learned early on in the business that really helped. And so for me, this is something that my most recent thing that I've kind of done. I've got a coffee shop down the road that I go into often, and there's a really good guy in there that runs it. And we end up talking a lot, and kind of had an idea in my head, because I've done this relationship or referral gift thing for a while to help onboard new relationships. And I thought, okay, what better than a bag of coffee? So a lot of times what I end up doing is dealing with, like I said, mortgage lenders and realtors. And a lot of times those relationships, like I have a relationship with both the lender and the realtor, and they have relationships that are outstanding, but sometimes not. I may have some of my lenders are going through different closings with different realtors all the time. Well, what's another thing that's of value to a mortgage lender? Of course, another realtor, because the more realtors that a mortgage lender can get, that's the more money in his pocket and the more deals you're going to get. And so if you can help facilitate the relationships for them a little bit, then that's another thing that we kind of tapped into. So going back to that, the reason that we do this, if you go back to the bag of coffee really quick, I'll kind of explain. So speaking on that value add, how can I help you get Mr. Lender, how can I get you in front of more realtors or make you look good? This is a gift that we give. You see our logo is nowhere on this. And any gift that I've ever done, this, like I said, in my most recent one, we kind of switch them around, but my logo is nowhere on there. And I want it that way because the point is this is for my lender, and it's for them to help continue to facilitate their relationship with either a new realtor or someone that they've never worked or that they've worked with in the past. So for this, it's literally a bag of coffee that they roast in there. Put the label on there, which is what you're looking at, is the label of the coffee bag, and it's the Because You're Home blend. And the name of the coffee shop is Because Coffee, so it's a play on that. I had to make it somewhat congruent, but basically it's just a gift saying, hey, here's a Because You're Home blend, and it's like, oh, I just bought a new house. That's pretty cool. The coffee's named that. That's what the client's thinking. But for the lender, this is what it does. So there's two name points there, or two spaces right there for names. You've got the two bars and the and. That's for two names. That's for the lender's name, and that's for the realtor's name. So what I would do is say, say Jonah and Kelly. Jonah's the realtor, or lender, Kelly is the realtor. So I'll say, congrats, enjoy your coffee. Thanks so much, from Jonah and Kelly. I give that to the lender. They take it to closing, and then the realtor is basically receiving a gift from the lender. I'm nowhere in the process. And I tell my lenders that, like, listen, I don't want to be involved. I want this to be something that you get to do. And they're bringing that, saying, hey, thanks for bringing another deal. Here's a bag of coffee that we have roasted for, right down the road. These guys do it. They know we do a lot of home closings. So yeah, here's a bag from us. So that gift gets passed on from the lender to the realtor. The realtor is like, man, you thought about me and my clients. That's cool. And the realtor gets to give it to the clients. So that's kind of the flow. I know it's a lot of moving parts, but generally what you're doing is just a tiered thing. You're saying, okay, providing value to the lender, they're providing value to the realtor, and the realtor's then giving it to the clients. The clients are happy. The realtor's happy that they got a free gift to give to them on top of whatever, stuff they've already given them. It's just a cool thing I've found has been great to, I guess, start out relationships with. Now, some people, when they start doing it, they're like, oh, that's cool. You can forget the coffee, whatever. I just like working with you. And that's cool. But there's also ones that love this. And there's people that are like, okay, I've got to have this every time because I got to make sure that they get this because it's part of their process now, So another idea I can give you guys. Back at my other agency, one thing we did is we had these photo frames, and we would engrave the photo frame and we would say, thanks so much. Enjoyed working with you. Again, lender name, realtor name, put a photo of the home in there, and it's a little frame of their new house, and it's got, who they're thanking on the back, which is a lender and realtor. That gift, again, gets passed down the same way. And there were guys going crazy for that, man. So these types of things are definitely something that you can implement, in your own way. It can be something small. It can be something big. I mean, whatever you want to do, it's just a way that you can, I guess, add some more value to the relationship and make it, you really stand out doing that, I think, because it's something that I don't know of any other insurance agents doing. So something that's been, definitely helpful for us through our journey.
I think it's a great idea. It's I think someone, Justin said brilliant. It is. It really is. You've created a system whereby you're giving a gift to your lender, who gives to your realtor, who ends up giving to the client, and it literally is a chain of everyone feeling good, like a feel-good chain there of this gift. And it helps. It helps to create and facilitate a relationship. And it doesn't have to be coffee, guys. Obviously, that's Evan because it's local. He's supporting a local business. Again, remember, people like supporting local. Most surveys run right now, 80% of people say they'd rather shop locally than shop online. So look for a local place. Find a wood burning thing where they can wood burn welcome home on on a little thing that they can hang up on their wall. So again, there are tons of options for these kind of gifts that you can create for this process. So thanks for going over your referral program. I think it's extraordinary. And again, agents, if you want to talk about this further, feel free. We'll chat about this further. You could do one-on-one with me, or if you have questions, feel free to reach out. Obviously, Evan is in our group, so feel free to reach out there. But next, I want to talk about this is probably like one of the most uncomfortable parts of the process, right, Evan? For some agents, which is the actual part of reaching out to those potential referral partners and pitching yourself and your value add. I think we talked about it just briefly a little earlier, and you shared that from your perspective and for you, it's a lot more poignant and important for you to reach out, one-on-one, and you're having that discussion versus online. Let's talk about that a little bit further. For one, why do you find that to be more important, and what typically does that look like when you're courting? It's courting, right? Let's like it's 1800s dating. When you're courting a referral partner, what's that look like for you?
Yeah. So for me, depending on where it kind of starts, here recently, like I said, a lot of my stuff is word of mouth, and it's people that have heard about me through other realtors, maybe in their group, or lenders that, they've worked with, whatever that may be. I guess the reaching out part for me is kind of where everything starts, and it's the nurturing process. So for me, I'm a very interpersonal guy. I definitely prefer to have more like, over the phone, in-person conversations. It's just, I think I can, explain me better that way than I can, any other way. And often I feel like it helps the relationships move along because, even though if you're not a person that maybe doesn't like talking to a lot of people all the time or anything like that, you'll find though that it helps you, because whenever you're talking, you're processing, you're thinking, you're helping yourself get sharper in your craft, but also the people on the other end of the phone, honestly, like, yeah, it may be more comfortable for them to get texted or emailed. What they really want is that connection, and what they really want is to know you if they're going to be doing business with you. So like, as far as reaching out, it's really just as simple as explaining, hey, whether they were referred to me by somebody else and they said they're great and this and that, or it's just, if I was to call somebody up out of the blue, first of all, I've got to make sure they're interested in, working with somebody. If I've got a lender who, oh man, I never touch my deals, they just go to my processor, I'm not going to waste my time. You got to pre-qualify the people you're talking to. But when you have somebody who, you're going to start to figure those questions out with, it's really just reaching out and saying, hey, my name's Evan. I'm an insurance agent. And look, like, I work with a lot of lenders like you, or if it's realtors, I work with a lot of realtors like you. And, one of the things that I find that you guys have problems with is this, this, and that. And that's where you can find whatever your value adds want to be. For me, I have a lot of times people get into policies, they don't know what they're getting into because they just need it cheap. So that's one of the things I'll say is, hey, one of the things that I see a lot in my industry is guys just trying to make sure that deals work and things get through. And yeah, I'm a broker, so like I can, always have the best price anyway. That's kind of part of my sales pitches. I always just say, I've always got, we got everybody, we're brokerage, kind of get that thinking in their mindset, take it further to say, hey, I'm going to make sure that I take care of your clients. So, I don't know if you work with a lot of clients on a, regular basis, or if insurance is something you want to be involved in, but I'd love to be a part of that process and bring value to your business. Is that something that you feel like you're missing? It's starting conversations like that. And then that's when you'll start to find, oh, I've been using this guy for a while and he this and that, or, oh, you know what, I don't really deal with it a lot. And it's really just having a conversation. There's no method to it. The thing I would say mostly is just, again, I know we're beating a dead horse here, but numbers game. You be yourself. Don't try to sell stuff to people. Figure out who you are, what your identity is as an agent, and that, your identity should line up with what value you're going to bring, and just have conversations with people. Reach out, be intentional. And one thing I encourage people whenever they're asking me, Evan, what do I do? How do I, get started with these people, is I would just find 5 lenders a day, whether it's through the sources that we found, on Zillow, or going through Facebook, calling up friends. Hey, bud, I haven't talked to you in a while, but do you know any mortgage lenders? Like, conversations like that, get names. And I guarantee you, if you call 5 a day, even if they don't, 3 of them don't answer, you maybe talk to one and one of them hangs up on you. If you do 5 a day, that's 25 a week. You're telling me you can't get a deal from one of those mortgage lenders? All of you would be like, yeah, obviously 1 out of 25, I'm that good. Well, yeah, if you're that good, then just do it. I mean, that's all it takes, is just that numbers game of kind of breaking out. And it's hard, got to break out of the comfort zone. Speaking of myself here, I definitely could do a lot more of it than I already do. So I'm definitely not the guy who's got it all down by any means. But what I've found is, when you're reaching out, it's not always just about how. It definitely, like, it is about how. For me, my how is, being myself, explaining, as well as I can in context of a relationship of, hey, this is what I do. And if that's helpful to you, I'd love to do that. And then we take the next steps as we go from there, go to coffee, whatever. But like, when it comes to doing it, numbers game and knowing who you are and really just saying, look, like, this is what I'm here to help do. I'd love to, have a chance to work with your people. And I guarantee you, if they're not thanking you for referring me, then that's a problem. That's how confident I am that I think we're going to work well together. If you do that enough, you're going to find people and you're going to strike that one. Like I said, if I wouldn't have reached out to my buddy about my friend Jonah that I work with a ton now, I wouldn't have that relationship if I wouldn't have just done that. Now, did I have any idea he'd be one of my best friends and we'd be going to his wedding and all that kind of stuff? No. And it's all because I just did that. And then I let things play out how they would, because I care about the relationship. And if you just do that, that's really all it takes, is just feet to the pavement, finding your way to do it, getting on the phone with them somehow, even if it's just a text like, hey, I'd love to find out more about you. Can we go to coffee? Anything like that. It's kind of my process when it comes to all that. I know it's long-winded, but it's, something I'm passionate about, and it's got a lot of parts. It's important. So
no, and you're 100% right. It's almost like you've shared, that he's become not only a referral partner but a friend. And the reality is, like, if you're looking to partner with referral partners, you're more likely to find people that want to partner with you, that are like you, right? That people that are amenable to you. So look out for that. And that kind of leads to the point of, some people may not be as comfortable with that conversation or just jumping right in. And if that's you, that's how you're feeling, social media is a great place to start, guys. Find a couple of local mortgage lenders, particularly maybe ones who are active on Facebook. Start liking their content, start commenting on their posts and the content they put out there, and they'll recognize your name, and then put that call in. Okay. Maybe you start that conversation on Facebook to have that off Facebook. It makes it a little more comfortable when maybe you've already made, the reality is they know you, they recognize your name, because we all know, like, and I'm sure agents, I like many of our agents' pages, I know that you guys probably see, or know when someone's liking your page. I know other agents who like other agents' pages, and I bet you it probably feels good. I know, Evan, you have a relationship with one or two of our agents, and you guys like each other's content back and forth. So I know it probably feels good for you when you see that support from another person. So other people, other businesses will feel the same way. So just know that there are different ways to approach that. And if you're a little more comfortable starting that conversation online, do that and find some unique ways to build yourself up in that person's eyes online. Like their stuff on Facebook, follow them on Facebook, like their content, comment on their stuff. Get your name out there in front of them. So when you make that phone call, it feels like you're calling a friend rather than you're calling some stranger. So
100%.
Just a thought, again, there's a ton of different approaches, but like, Justin said in the comments here, Evan's approach is friends first, business later. And again, I think that's a good approach to it, is you're creating that trust, creating that relationship, and then you're talking business. So that is key. So we talked about referral programs, to talk about reaching out to potential referral partners. One of the other things, and again, we're going a little long now, guys, and just bear with us here. One of the things, Evan, that we talked about is managing the relationship closely. Let's hit on this briefly here. You don't want to keep lenders waiting, right? Because they need their stuff quick, as Tyler said earlier, and as we've hit on, there are deadlines in place. How do you manage these relationships closely, and how has managing the relationship closely helped you get more leads? Because I know we've talked about it, Evan. How many lenders are regularly sending you leads right now?
Oh man, it varies. I've got like my solid, I would say 7 or 8. But I would say anywhere from, on a normal month, like between 7 and 12 different lenders I'll talk to. So with that, managing the relationship kind of comes back to where I'm at with them. So if it's someone that I've had a couple deals with, I'm definitely going to like be a lot more involved in that process and following up a little bit more on when the process is where we're at in the process rather, and those that I've got an event here at 4 o'clock that I'm going to later, and I'm going to hang out at the winery with them because they've got a big client appreciation event, and I'll do things like that for people I work with a lot. But when it comes to managing it like through the deal, I guess you would say, for me, it's just my process. I like to have at least 3 touches. So like one of them would be, hey, I did hear from them, or I did talk to them, because one of the things that my pet peeves that I do myself, and I hate when I do this, is I try to keep it to a minimum, is, hey, did that person ever end up talking to you? That should never be a question to, the person who referred, because that in their mind is kind of like, oh, Evan never told me that they talked to them. And, is that the best referral partner? That's like why it scares me. So I always try to say, confirm we spoke with them, or we tried to reach out first of all. And then when things start to move, say we get their info back, I usually like to check in like, yeah, we're looking at quoting right now. Everything's going to be done by X date. And then finally, if they end up going with us or not, is kind of when I'll, talk with those. That's kind of like my, I guess, cut and dry process. Now, like, per the person I'm working with, some people don't want to hear anything other than, hey, send me the evidence of insurance. It's just dependent on who you're working with. But the importance, I guess, that, I would say, Sam, you're probably trying to nail down here is just making sure that you can tailor your interaction to what that relationship needs. At a minimum, it needs to be, hey, I heard from the person, made sure they're taken care of, and then some follow up on the back end of how things went, making sure that, you're really just nailing the driving the nail home with the referral partner, saying they got what they needed, they're taken care of, they're with me, they're good to go. So, that's kind of my thinking around the process, is trying to keep everybody informed. And again, bring in that value, bring in, communication. They know that when they call me, they're going to know where the people are at. It's just being close enough to my agents and my lenders that, they know I'm in their back pocket if they need something. It's kind of how I try to manage it. So, I don't know of too much else to add to that other than just make sure you're being intentional about it, and that they, they always know kind of where things are at. Would be like, if you can check that box in your head of, do they know where that person's at? Then you're doing a good job, and you're doing what you're supposed to as a referral partner.
And it sounds like too, like I know when we talked last, you said you've got a few relationships that maybe send you 1 or 2 leads every once in a while. And I know you shared that part of what you do is manage those relationships, kind of contact them, kind of keep those relationships too, so that they don't forget about you, right? You have a few lenders who maybe don't send you leads every month, but are a little more sporadic. How do you manage those relationships? How do you encourage more leads from them?
Yeah, so it's honestly just showing up in their phone somehow. I've got a Rolodex of dudes that have, mortgage lenders and lenders or realtors that I've tried to reach out to in the past, and, oh, I'm busy right now, give me a couple months. You get those kind of responses. Every now and then I'll check in, I'll go through my messages and just kind of pop in for some of those. Facebook messaging, I use that a lot. Other ones, I'll call them up. There's been times where I've had a relationship and, for a little bit, we work a lot together, and then it's kind of ghost for a month or two. I'll just call that person up. Hey, how you doing? Everything going well with your business? So my way is, I never fall on the, hey, was wondering if you had any business I could quote or anything like that. I never like to lead with that, just because it obviously, you're being completely upfront about why you're calling them, or you're not that you're being upfront about why you're calling them, you're making it seem like, hey, I'm calling them just to get business. And if you're really about the relationship, then all it is just following back up with that person. Hey, how's your business going? Are things good? Is there anything I can do to help? Don't even talk about insurance or leads that they might send you or anything like that. I would say, if you have some cold relationships, check back in with them, and you'll find out, hey, they're not interested in working with me right now, and maybe I'll hit them back later. Or, you can rekindle some stuff, and people, oh, I've been meaning to get out, back in touch with you, things like that. So I would just say constant communication and contact would kind of be, what it is, just constant touches.
Definitely. And if you do reach out to someone and they aren't, maybe they're not totally abject to you reaching out to them, but maybe you didn't have time for it or whatever, that's that perfect person. Follow them on Facebook if they have a business profile. You know what I mean? Put yourself in front of them over time. And then that way, when you make that call 3 months later, it doesn't feel as stagnant. It doesn't feel like a cold call. So we talked a little bit about some of the emails. I know one of the things that you do is keeping in contact with your lender throughout the process, but also sending the email out when you get that customer first sent over to you by the lender. So I don't expect everyone would have to take a screenshot or anything like that, but Evan has an email that he uses. And here's just the text of that email. You can obviously customize this. Some people, instead of including the quote info in the email, they may decide, hey, I want to, put just a quote sheet or a quote form in there, or maybe the agent wants to collect a lot less data, and you'll find a lot of that on your own, and you just need name, address, and basic information. But he does make sure that he contacts the lender and the client with this email to make sure that it's in front of both of them so that they know they're in contact. Evan, anything else that you want to share on this? And again, this is on the website. It's on the portal. You'll get the email. You'll be able to even copy and paste this and edit it and use it for your own if you wanted to. But Evan, anything else to share?
Yeah, honestly, just with this, it's just the point of it is information gathering, number one. And obviously, this isn't all the information I gather up front. I like to start with a good bit of it, but I also don't want to wear them out with a million questions. I get enough to where I'm asking more than the other guys, but I get enough to where I can segue and ask those further questions later and follow up, like, all sorts of different stuff. You've all been the home applications, all the questions on there. So the thing is, too, kind of at the top, it's just saying, hey, kind of my like golden sentence in here is I work in conjunction with so-and-so on your loan in order to get the proper homeowners insurance in place. I would say the importance of this email, if this comes right after, like I encourage a lot of my people to say, hey, when you have people send their email over to me, segue it over. And when you get good relationships, that's what they'll do for you. You get this and just hit send. And it's basically like, hey, here this person is that emailed over a recommendation. You come back with, hey, I work with who you're working with, and my job is homeowners insurance. Then that's kind of how I segue it. So yeah, I would just say any systematic process that you can build to make it do two things: make it easy for you to retain the lead and work the business, but also it's a segue into like, hey, this is kind of, you work with me because you're working with them, sort of thing. Like I'm part of the process and they work with me for a reason. So we're going to get started. It's kind of like my point in using this.
Yeah, and again, if one thing I would share, or this is a tactic that I use that worked with mortgage lenders as well in the past, is I bolded, like Evan has in here, congrats on new contractor in your home. And he put the lender's name in there. I bolded that. That was bold. Lender's name was bold. I even put the lender and then the company they were working with right in the subject title. So I would say Mike Isaacs with Fairmay told me to call. So you have literally right there. And you're putting that right in like the email that you're sending after maybe you reach out via phone. So just make it clear why you're reaching out to them, what you're reaching out for. And frankly, guys, you may even have lenders who want to send this email on your behalf and they want to connect you to the client. So don't hesitate to ask that, because some of those lenders might be totally willing to make that connection, which is frankly even more powerful.
Right. Absolutely.
So moving on, that pretty much covers it. That's your process in a nutshell. Obviously, there's pieces and parts to it that a lot of action needs to be taken, right? And that's the big thing is, we could talk about this, but, really agents need to act upon it, create a process, find out what their why is, find those referral partners and do it. So with that in mind, agents, what questions does everyone have to help them to put this in action? So it looks like we've answered all the questions so far, Fritz says. So looks like we still have about 48 people in here. Anyone have any questions, any items they want to ask Evan about? And again, I'll remind everyone, resources that we've went over. So all the stuff we showed, the email that Evan sends out, the PDF Evan uses, that image of Evan's, the coffee, the gift that he sends, that image is going to be on the portal. So all of that will be there.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, sorry, go ahead, Evan.
No, I was just going to say, I appreciate you guys' time and everybody that's kind of contributed. This is cool for me as an agent to get to do. So I definitely appreciate you guys tuning in and, yeah, definitely happy to be doing this and working alongside you guys. Definitely enjoyed this.
Awesome. Well, we have one question. Why do you not put your label on the bag of coffee? And I think that was, we had talked about part of that, Evan, and feel free to share. Why do you not put the label on the bag of coffee? Let's start with that one.
Yeah. So for me, I would say my reasoning for that is because I just want it to be about the lender. The way that I position it is that it's a gift coming from the lender. The realtor, I don't really want them they don't have to know that originated with me. I want when that realtor at the closing table receives that gift, I want them to think that's from the lender. And the point of that is because I want the lender to be able to get more relationships, because if I'm providing a lender something that helps them get more business, I mean, of course, like, forget being a good guy at quoting and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, what they want is, you to take care of their clients, but what they really want is more relationships and more business. And if you can provide something for free to them that that's going to help them do that, that's really the main point. So,
Yeah.
not to say you can't put your logo on there. If you want to do something and your logo is on there and you want to position a little bit differently, you can definitely make that work. But for me, that's probably why I do
It's the
that.
same reason why we talk about it. Every social media post shouldn't be a call to action. Every single social media post, you got to have a little mix of that right there. And that's
Mhm.
Evan's mix. There's no call to action. There's no business card in there. George asked a question here. Evan, he had asked, how many leads do you get per month? I think me and you talked about that earlier. From referral partners, you get 25 to 30 leads per month. You close about 75 to 80%. Now that's, again, just strictly referral partners. That doesn't include like friends, family, or current customers that are sending you
Mhm.
referrals. That's just strictly mortgage lenders and realtors.
Yeah, that's spot on. Pretty much about what we're working with. So, and then Noel had some questions. How do I add the lender and realtor? I just write it on there. It's like I don't know what it's made of, but it's like whatever bag of coffee. Whenever you get a bag of coffee, it's kind of got like the slick label almost. I just write on there with a Sharpie the information, and then printing. I just have the guy at the shop, whoever puts their labels on. It's the same. The label looks the exact same as one of their actual branded bags of coffee. They just move the words around. So I just have them do it all for me.
Guys, you could create something different, like create like a business card type thing or a little sticker from forimprint.com, something like that you can present. So again, Evan created this relationship, but there are other ways to make that same kind of thing happen. So Evan, they asked who's doing the printing for you. It sounds like it's it's that company.
Yeah.
Again, guys, there's other places. If you have questions on printing, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to direct you to a few sites. But for those of you, 4imprint's a really good one to get all kinds of stuff made. There are tons of other ones. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out. Are there any other questions that we miss here? I don't think we missed any other ones. So awesome. Well, I really appreciate everyone being here. We're going to go in, just jump in one quick second into a few final things. But Evan, again, appreciate your information that you shared with agents. Appreciate your guidance here. And the information was awesome. It's actionable. I think agents can take action today to start creating some of these relationships.